Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome to our third episode of Men2Men podcast. I'm Malik Carey, along with my co-host, Brett Carroll. Brett, how you doing today, brother?
I'm good, Malik. How are you, bro?
You sure you're good, man?
I'm good, man.
You
Don't,
sure?
don't talk to me about the Steelers, man. I'm good. You worry about your Cowboys.
Yeah, nah, man. I am worried about our Cowboys. I think next week we'll both be home together, so I'm okay. Leo, last week, man, we had a great episode. We were talking about men in purpose. And this week, you know what? We're going to pick up on that, but we're going to talk about why black men must be intentional about impacting our communities. And then also, what are some of the challenges and how do we overcome them? So, Brett, talk to me about what's going on, bro.
Well, last week, like you said, we talked about purpose. We as black men need to have a purpose. And as we closed out the show, you talked about we need to have impact. So today, we kind of want to follow up on that challenge, and that is talking about the having impact in the black community. We as black men having impact on our communities. There's two pieces to this. One is the challenges that we have, and therefore we need to be able to impact those changes. And so we're looking at a kind of a big, broad topic here. We're only going to touch the surface. We can't get too deep into anything, but we just want to continue the conversation and just allow people to sit back and think about ways in which they could impact their respective communities. So we're going to talk about the current state of Black America, and then we'll talk about ways in which we might be able to have impact and change our communities.
Yeah. So when we talk about the state of Black America, one of the things I want to focus on really is we talk about the state of Black America, but let's talk about the state of black men and where we really find ourselves. And I know we keep saying we don't want to harp on it, but I think we really need to dig into where do we find ourselves as black men? Why are we so sought out? Why are we so targeted? And then why are we so broken? And so when we look at that, let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, you're talking about I'll just for the sake of conversation, I'll call it the broken black man.
Okay.
All right, so we'll talk about the broken black man, and we'll talk about how we can unbreak the broken black man.
Right, because if anything is broken, it could be fixed, right?
Absolutely.
All right, I like that.
And this whole conversation is really about not harping on the negative and not harping on brokenness, but this whole conversation is really centered around how do we get out of that and how do we move away from being broken until we become functional and we become impactful. Because at the end of the day, the bottom line is we want to be impactful black men. We don't want to be broken. So just to take a step back real quick, as we suffer through bad experiences, as we go through challenges in life and we don't succeed and we fail and we don't feel like things are moving the way we want them to move in life. You can be a 22-year-old, you can be an 18-year-old and you didn't get into college. You could be a 22-year-old and you're out of college now, but you can't get a job. You could be 25, 26 years old and you're stuck with student debt or 30 years old and all of a sudden you look up and you say, wow, where has life gone?
Or you can be 50 or 60 and you worked on a job for so long and every time you put in for that promotion, you're the one that's getting knocked down when you see your other counterpart screaming and going higher. Right. And those are things that we got to talk about. So, yeah, so it could be 20, it could be. And what's the impact on that? Every time I put that application in or every time I put for that promotion in, but I don't get that promotion.
Right. Well, see, brokenness doesn't necessarily mean you're scraping the barrel of the bowl.
No.
Obviously, there's dimensions of brokenness. What we're talking about here is people who aren't where, in essence, they're not where they want to be.
They're not fulfilling.
They're not. They haven't. Life has not fulfilled them, or they haven't fulfilled their quote unquote purpose in life. Mm-hmm. And so when that happens, in black men in particular, because of our experiences, because of our history, we kind of
bottle it up.
Yeah. It kind of becomes a part of who we are. So what happens is, in some cases, not all cases, not everybody, but in some cases, in too many cases, we feel incomplete. We feel incompetent,
inadequate.
We feel inadequate. We lose hope, and we become broken. Not necessarily because we're completely down and out, but broken in the sense that I'm not who I want to be. I'm not where I need to be or where I should be. And that's what we mean when we say the broken man.
Okay, I like that. And so one of the things that when we talk about being inadequate or feeling inadequate, has our society, and I'm gonna throw this out there, but our society has put a lot on us too.
Absolutely.
And so when we look at, am I broken? How am I broken? Or am I, am not where I want to be? Sometimes I don't even know where I need to be. Right. And so when I think about where I'm in this society that puts all these demands on men in general, not just black men, but men in general, that we're supposed to be providers, protectors, all of the stuff that we talk about. But then again, when I go graduate from college and I can't get that job, if I even go to college, right? And so I'm thinking about that as a part of most of these kids today don't even want to go to college because they don't want the student debt, or they are conditioned that they don't even need to go to school. And then now you're stuck out here, trying to be an entrepreneur or, trying to get a job without an education. And we see where that's going. And so we're in a bad place in some places, right?
Yeah, as far as us, we as individuals, yeah, that could jam us up. There's no question about it. And that's and to your point, and what we're talking about here again is simply those folks who they're just not, for whatever reason, for a multitude of reasons, they're not where they want to be. But here's the other thing too, and here's where this I think is troublesome.
Okay.
30, 40, 50, whatever. If you're the man and you're broken, and we just kind of defined a little bit about what broken could mean
and look like,
what impact does that have on whatever family you might have? So the impact of the broken man is, in effect, the broken family. Let's talk a little bit, Malik, about, in your opinion, what you think the broken family is and what the broken family looks like.
Well, let's just look at it over the decades, man. In the black community in 2020, this was the latest statistic, only 30% of African American people were married, right? And that's down from, in the 70s when, a whole lot more people were married. And so when we look at that, and then half of African American people have never been married, compared to 34% of all Americans, we don't want to get married. Marriage has been this doom and gloom over our home for a long time. And we know, because you and I are married, the sacredness of marriage and what marriage can do. But, I was watching a Instagram video or something this week talking about a sister talking about why black women shouldn't get married. And it really pissed me off. It pissed me off like, and so now we got the angry black syndrome of black women who don't want to get married. We've been tainted as men, as players and pimps, and can't be committed, right? And so we got that part going on. And then the sisters they're climbing the corporate ladder. They're making a lot of money. Why should I want to take care of some dude who's not working, right? Or not working where I'm working. And so at the point of that, why do any one of us want to get married? From a worldview, from a Christian view, because I'm going to come from that standpoint, we're designed to be married.
Right.
We're designed to be in community.
Right.
We're designed. And I talk about my wife a lot. When we got married, and unfortunately, fortunately, this is my second marriage. And I didn't know when I was younger, but I knew when I got married this time what it was going to be about. And it was going to be about, there's no such thing as talking about half and divorce and all. When we got married, that's out of the question. We're family.
Right.
We are family. Families don't break up. Right? Families go through tough times. Families do those things. But what marriage has done in this society, in the worldview, is said, you know what? It's not working. I can go on. I can find somebody else.
Yeah, 'cause a lot of times, I think you mentioned it a little earlier, a lot of times people learn what they see, or people incorporate what they see. And so if you've seen bad relationships, you don't want to get married. But and so you, like you said, the sister doesn't want the brother doesn't want the sister. I think we talked about that last week. But even in this particular scenario, we're talking about those who are families. We talk about we're talking about now the broken black family, and you're talking about the broken black family where the man and the woman is not together.
And then we talk about the broken black family and the man is together. If he's broken, how can his family be fixed?
Well, this is what I mean when I say the broken black family. I'm glad you defined it a little bit better than I did, because you're right. The broken black family could very well be the man who's just not present. And if the man's not present, the family's broken.
Right. And then we talking about the man who has 4 or 5 babies in different states, different communities. We see that. We and so when I look at the broken black man, you know, I tell men all the time, you're the CEO of your home. You are the CEO of your home. And if your home is falling apart, that's because you're falling apart.
Right.
Right. And it's tough to be able to talk through that, but it's real.
Right.
So if I'm broken, my family's going to be broken.
Right.
And the thing I wanted to define is brokenness means getting healthy. And we have to understand what healthy is. When people come into our office, I ask them questions. What does healthy look like for you? Because healthy may be different for me than it is for you.
Right.
But there are some standards: love of self, love of neighbor. Right. And so if I don't know how to love myself, and society hasn't taught me how to love myself, and I've come from this aspect of brokenness, let down, continual oppression, then I don't know how to walk into a marriage and be healthy. I don't know how to raise a healthy family, because all I'm doing is looking at what's on TV, what's on this music, what's on the radio. All of those things are playing a part in me becoming healthy in order to have a healthy marriage. I'm not perfect. My wife is not perfect. But one thing we do is, because of a lot of work, we have a healthy marriage.
Okay.
And so understanding, brothers, sisters, you can be healthy, but you have to understand you were broken to be able to get healthy.
Yeah. And so that's a great point. And we're going to talk about about getting healthy a little later. And it's part of the impact that we as black men need to have. And that's basically helping us unbreak ourselves and helping us unbreak our families and unbreak our communities. But I want to talk real briefly about what the broken black family looks like. Number one is disjointed. And being disjointed, and we're talking about people who are physically in the same house. We all live together. We're not separated physically. We're physically together, but we're disjointed.
Okay, is your first marriage or your second?
Well, look, I can't speak for anybody else. I've been married once, and I only plan to be married once. But here's what I'm getting at, though: that disjointed family there's no teamwork. Everybody's functioning on their own,
individual basis,
doing their own thing. And so the broken family is characterized, in my opinion, by being disjointed. A broken family is being characterized, in my opinion, by being dysfunctional. And being dysfunctional means we don't operate
together
or in cohesion,
right? And because we don't know how to. You know what I mean? You know how many brothers I know who are quote unquote or married, who they got separate bank accounts.
Right.
Just something like, yo, dude, your money's or it's, I hear, oh, that's her money. This my money.
Right.
Like, yo, dude, no, it's our money. Oh no, I don't trust him with my account.
Right.
So if I can't trust you with my money or our money, how can I trust you with my soul?
Or anything else.
Right. And so when we look at that part of it, that whole disjointed part of it, and it's not to say that, you know, especially if you get married later, that you've accumulated some things and you put your stuff in, but yeah, you create a joint account. But that whole dysfunctional part is so important because that's all we know.
Well,
if I have not seen functioning, and you just made a valid point on something, we haven't seen how to have most of us have not seen what it looks like to have a healthy marriage. I'm a product of divorce. I'm a product of a single mom. I'm a product of a lot of things. Right. And so thank God I did have an uncle who stayed married for 25 years and had a healthy family and raised healthy children. So I had the mirror to look at, and he coached me along the way. And in my first marriage, I didn't do everything he told me to do, and probably should have just did what he said not do, not get married. But I did it, and I learned some lessons from it, which made me a better husband today.
Right.
Okay. So we can make mistakes and bounce back from them, but I gotta be able to see functioning and understand what functioning looks like before I can just say, oh, I want to be in a functioning marriage, when all I've known is dysfunction.
Right. But dysfunctionality is the inability to accomplish what you need to accomplish. It's the inability to operate the way in which you need to operate. So if that isn't dysfunctional, or mommy's dysfunctional, the kids are dysfunctional, basically what it means is nobody is doing what they're supposed to be doing. Nobody's meeting the standard. You talk about the Steelers, I talk about Mike Tomlin, the standard is the standard. Nobody's meeting basic standards, and that's what dysfunction means. And when black families are broken, they're physically together, but no one or not enough of everybody is operating no one is meeting the standards that need to be met.
Sound like my Cowboys.
Well, I mean, well, you know what? To be honest with you, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Great point.
Sounds like my Cowboys.
Yeah, the Cowboys are as talented as they are. They're basically dysfunctional.
Exactly.
And that's why they haven't been able to win.
And no leadership.
Yeah.
Right.
And dysfunction is a product of a lack of leadership. And so if the man is the head of the household and he's broken, then he's going to preside over a broken family.
And then, one of the things that I try to talk about when brothers come and they're like, oh, my wife. I said, no, it's you. You attracted this.
Right.
Because if you were healthy, you would have attracted something different.
Right.
And same with the sisters.
Right.
You attracted this because if you were that way, you would have attracted something different. Light don't hang out in darkness.
That's a good point, bro. That's a good point. And I'm glad you brought that up, because here's what happens. When you become dysfunctional, at some point in time, your dysfunction turns into being delusional. And what that simply means is you're operating day in and day out, not even, I think you said this earlier, day in and day out, not even realizing your dysfunction, not even realizing the fact that you're not operating the way you're supposed to. So you're delusional. So you live life out as a family, as individual in the family, basically inconsistent with the way functional
I'm going to use another
live.
word for you. You live stuck.
You're stuck. And then when that happens, and then when you're stuck and you come to that place, you realize that now you're despondent. So now you become, and this comes back to, I don't want to get too deep into this, but this comes back to, you have despondent members in your family. Now you're talking about depression. And now you're talking about people just being in a mental place, an emotional place, a psychological place where they're just in a bad way, and so you're really jacked up and that's how you define this thing, and that's what this black family thing looks like. The broken black family looks like. So you think about this for a minute. If I live on this street and I'm a broken I'm the head of, I'm a broken man in a broken family. And across the street is a broken brother in a broken family. And down the street is a broken brother in a broken family. What do I have?
A broken community.
You have a broken community.
Yeah.
And that's where and why we as black men need to have impact. Because we talked about purpose last week. Our purpose is to have impact. And impact is about changing us. Impact is about changing our families. And impact is about changing our communities.
So talk to me about this then. All right, we talked about, the broken black man. Before I can make an impact, let's talk about some of the things that we can do to get healthy so that we can make that impact. Because before I make an impact, I gotta be intentional. What are some of the practical things that we think that brothers should be able to start doing so that they can be impactful in these communities? Because we already see the we already see what the broken communities look like when we ride through these major inner cities, when we ride through the urban areas. We see the brokenness. We see the housing and the redlining and all of the things that have happened. So we're not going to harp on that. Let's talk about some practical things that brothers need to be able to start doing. And some are doing, so we're not going to say it all, but for the majority aren't doing it. So I want to talk to the majority. What do we need to do to make the impact, to become impactful? I guess, what do we need to do there? Let's start with that.
Well, it starts with self. So it starts with me, the individual, as a black man. And I've got to be, I think we talked about this before too. I have to be, I have to want it, and I have to be very intentional about it. I have to be intentional about changing my behavior. I have to be intentional about changing my attitude. I have to be intentional about changing my behavior. And I have to be intentional about wanting to have an impact on myself.
But what if I don't know? There are a lot of brothers around here who don't know, Brett. And so how do we get to them? How do we get to the brother that's, and when we see them, I mean, and some of them are very successful. So I'm not talking about just the mediocre dudes. I'm talking about guys, but they're self-absorbed. They're into their careers. They don't care about the impact. They don't care about if my family is falling apart, because it's all about me. How do we make that an impact? What do we do there? Because if you don't know, I mean, and I'm just talking about from experience now. There are a lot of brothers who don't know that they're broken. And if you tell them, they're fighting you. You know, I use this acronym, denial. Don't even know I'm lying to myself. Right?
I like that. Yeah. Well, I think I think, well, first of all, there's two things. Number one, if you're talking about the person who does not want to be helped, that's somebody who can't be helped.
No, I'm talking about the one who doesn't know or want to accept that he needs help.
Okay. Well, but he wants help.
We can say that, yes.
Okay. Well, I think, again, I think you just have to go to him. I think you go to him as an individual, or you go to him as a small group. I don't want to call it intervention, because I'm not trying to turn this into a therapy session, but you can take 2 or 3 people in that particular person's inner circle. Let's say 2 or 3. Let's say we have 4 common friends. All right. Let's say the 4 of us are pretty cool, and let's say I'm going through some stuff. The 3 of you know it. You know that I'm not capable of fixing myself. So the 3 of you sit me down somewhere in a room like this. So we go to dinner, we go to breakfast, whatever. We shoot hoops, shoot pool, whatever we do. And the 3 of you then have this conversation with me. And you begin to ask me questions that helps me think about what it is I'm missing, what it is I'm not doing, or what it is I should be doing. And if I am not answering the questions properly, or I'm giving you a sign, or it's very clear to you that I don't get it, I'm lost, I'm stuck, then I think I think you, the 3 of you, then have to say, yo, bruh, here's 2 or 3 things that we've noticed. Here's 2 or 3 things that we would like to share with you. And here's 2 or 3 things that we would like to see you change. Here's 2 or 3 things that we would like to see you stop doing. Here's 2 or 3 things that we would like to see you start doing. And we're here to help you, bruh. So, Brett, what do you think about that? And so I'll sit back, hopefully, this is where the want comes in. Hopefully, I'll receive it.
So each one grab one.
Each one reach one. Like my boy Jesse Jackson said, each one reach one, each one teach one.
Right. So I think that's great. So we got communities of brothers that need to be grabbed right now, and more than ever. And we look at these communities right now, the gangs are taking over our young boys. Sports are taking over these young boys, right? And sports are not a bad thing, but the lack of a father in the home is taking over a lot of y'all young men. And so when we go back to impacting our communities, what are the practical things that we're going to have to do to make that impact, to go grab these young boys out of these gangs, to go get these young boys out of these jails, right? Because it's getting worse, and we don't realize it, but it is.
Well, in order to, if we're going to impact a community, we can't do it with one person. We have to have a community, if you will, to impact the community. So we're talking in essence about the minority having impact on the majority. So if I hear your question correctly, it would take a small group of brothers who live in a given community who say enough is enough. These brothers have to sit down and they have to come up with a plan. Look, you know where I'm coming from. You come up with a plan. Here you come up with a list of it's real simple. You come up with a list. Here's the list: housing, safety, education, training, recreation, social services, recreational services, after school programs. You come up with a list of about 8 or 9 or 10 things that jack up our community. Mm-hmm. And then the small group, the minority, list these things, and you talk about how do we fix these things. So you sit down and you plan around it. Here's how we impact the educational system in our community. Here's how we impact the after-school program in our community. Here's how we impact housing in our community. Here's how we impact safety in our community. Here's how we impact the lack of recreational facilities and the lack of recreational programs in our vicinity. And so there's 8 of us, there's 10 of us, there's only 4 of us, there's only 5, whatever. And so you plan how to fix it, then you put your plan in action.
Okay. So what I'm hearing from you is we're going to have to just go start challenging the status quo. We're going to have to get healthy so that we can go out here and really start to go into even some of these communities, come up with a plan, challenge government. I mean, because some of it's going
local government.
Right, yep, right. We're going to have to do that, right? And so, how do we rally? What's the rally cry? What is the rally cry to do this, right? Because I mean, you and I are doing it. We met in a community where we were getting young boys off the streets. We did it through sports. We did it through basketball. We did it through. I know you've been in city halls and challenging places, right? So. That takes courage, Brett.
Absolutely. Not only does it take courage, but more than courage, it takes a want to.
It takes a want to.
Because if you don't want to, there's no reason to summon courage. Mm-hmm. If you do decide that you want to, now that's where the courage comes in because of the resistance you're going to get. So we get resistance from each other. Mm-hmm. Listen, we get internal resistance.
Oh, no doubt.
We are our own enemy, whether we want to admit that or not. We get external resistance from the people who are closest to us. And then we get global resistance, and this comes from our community, the people who are our own people who fight us. Who do you think you are? How dare you tell me what to do? How dare you suggest what we do, blah, 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 all that. And then you get the opposition, the mm-hmm. oppressor, who is by design here to make sure that we don't
stay in your lane.
Thank you. Make sure that we stay in our lane. Make sure we shut up and dribble, and make sure we stay out of the way. Mm-hmm. So it all starts with want. And so once you want to do that, what you have to do is you have to find 2 or 3 other people who want to do that. I'm a big passion. I'm big on passion and planning and passion.
And on purpose and passion.
Exactly. Right? So you have to find like-minded brothers. Mm-hmm. You have to find like-minded brothers who give a damn and who care enough to say, you know what? I didn't know you felt that way. You know what? I agree with you. You know what? Let's do something about this. You know what? I'm available Tuesday. You know what? I'm available Saturday. Let's sit down and begin the discussion. Mm-hmm. The discussion this is so big. This is so big, it has to start with small discussions. Nothing's going to happen overnight. Change is going to take a long time to happen, but change evolves over time. Change is when you have an impact when you do little things consistently.
Mm-hmm. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, when you do little things consistently, when you say the right things, when you do the right things at the right time in the right place with the right people, that is how you impact your family. That's how you impact your marriages. That's how you impact your extended families. That's how you impact your street. That's how you impact your neighborhood. And that's how you ultimately impact your community.
So talk to me about something. What impact has the Black church had on our communities in a positive way and also in a negative way? What do you think about that?
Well, I don't want to look at the Black church as having a negative impact. I think what the Black church is faced with, or all churches for that matter, but the Black church in particular is faced with realizing that their purpose, there's that word again, their purpose is to save souls. Their purpose is to teach the word of God. Their purpose is to their purpose is to create a community where brothers and sisters can walk with each other and walk with the word of God and be grown up in Christ. And so you get saved, and then you start living your life for the Lord, and you develop what we call spiritual maturity. So the purpose of the church is to is to have a place where we walk with each other and we grow spiritually. Now, that's the purpose of the church. Here's what I think you're getting at. See, in addition to that, and this is just me, and I could be dead wrong, and if I am, I'll own it. I believe the purpose of the Black church in particular, because the Black church is in the Black community, I think the Black church should be the beacon, the absolute beacon of not just social change, but the Black church should be the head of the Black community. That's just my opinion.
And that's where I was going with it. And to understand that they can't be all to everyone, but if I'm in your community, then I'm, as a Black leader, as a Black pastor, as a Black congregant, and I'm looking to the church should be the forefront.
Absolutely.
For social justice. And to me, that's what a lot of them are missing, right? And not to harp on, the Cadillac and all of that stuff, but I do see that if we look in the Black community, we see a church, we see a liquor store.
Right.
We see a fast food restaurant.
Right.
All next to one another.
Right.
We have to stop that. And that's my opinion. Because if I'm a church leader, I'm not going to let you put a liquor store next to my church.
Well, see, this is where when we talk about having impact on the Black community, and you have the right-minded people together, the minority, you go to your city planning council and you say, this is why this doesn't work. We're trying to establish a safe community. We're trying to establish a community that is a healthy community, and putting a liquor store next to a church isn't part of a healthy community. Now, I'm not knocking liquor stores.
No, not at all.
And I'm not knocking a liquor store owner, a brother or sister who owns a liquor store.
But the brothers and sisters don't own the liquor
See,
stores.
I knew you were going to go there. I knew you were going to go there. I'm just saying, this particular brother owns a liquor store, okay? Leroy owns a liquor store, okay? And so I'm not trying to put him out of business, but what I'm saying is position the store in a place where he can do business.
Right.
He can be economically successful, but the church should be put in a place where it's where around the church is a safe environment.
It's a safe environment.
So that
that's what we don't see.
Yeah.
And so that, again, and I'm talking about the major cities. I'm talking about the Chicagos, the Detroits, the Newarks, the Manhattan, the major cities. And
but even smaller
communities.
Cities, it's even more profound in smaller communities.
That's true.
The small Black communities, it's even more profound there. And again, if that's a problem, you have a minority committee of concerned Black men who want to have an impact on their community. You go to the mayor, you go to the zoning board, you go to the city planner, you go to the business manager, you go to city council, and you say, hey, this is a problem. This is why it's a problem. Here is the solution. And now let's get started. And you hold them accountable. Now, it's not going to always work.
No, it's not.
But I tell you what does work, because we've done it. If you're persistent.
If we keep showing up, listen, and the impact is I'm going to show up here every day until something changes.
Yeah.
Right. And that, I think that's where the resilience comes in.
Right.
Right. Because when I'm healthy, I'm going to say this. In some ways, I believe us who have been successful has become selfish.
Agreed.
Okay.
But selfish, but understand this too. But everybody has a right to be selfish.
Oh, yeah.
Just like everybody has a right to be stupid. Just like everybody has a right to be stuck. And the reason why I think that's important is the purpose of this whole conversation, the purpose of this podcast isn't necessarily to knock anybody.
No, not at all.
Not at all. It's just to point out
where we are.
Where we're at. Exactly.
And challenging, listen, scripture, it says the harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few.
Few, no doubt.
Right. And so, we have such, to me, and this is just for me, and like you always say, I could be wrong and I'll stand on, but if we get healthy as a community of black men, we can make such an impact on this world.
There's no question, Malik. But here's the thing, though. You're climbing a mountain now, and I get it. No. Hey, I'm saying you're climbing a mountain. That's beautiful. We have to get healthy as individuals first.
Yes, no doubt.
Black men who are not healthy, black men who are broken, black men who aren't where they need to be or want to be, they got to get healthy first. Because here's what happens when you get healthy. All of a sudden, even though it's midnight, it's not dark outside. Mm-hmm. When you get healthy, all of a sudden it's raining, but the sun is still shining. Right. When you get healthy, all of a sudden the challenges that you once had, or I should say the impact of the challenges that you once have no longer impact you.
Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so all of a sudden now you're this new dude. You know what I'm saying?
There's a freedom.
You're free on the one hand, but you feel, and again, here we go back again, but you feel purposeful on the other hand.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying?
So we should call this Men on Purpose.
We talked about that last week. But
it keeps going back to it, right?
Because in our reality, we obviously need to have purpose, and we need to be able to impact the people around us
in a positive way. Right. And so let's be clear on that, because we have been doing impact.
Oh yeah,
we've been doing a lot of impact.
Impact has both negative and positive connotations.
We're talking about in a positive way,
and
because
most of what we've done, we've impacted each other in a negative way.
Right.
It's called the hood.
Right. It's called the hood mentality. A hood, and again, you know what? We've done a lot of damage to our sisters. We've done a lot of damage to our families. We've done a lot of damage that can be undone.
True.
If I get healthy and I come to my sisters or my wife and I say, babe, you know what? I messed up, but I want to make this right for the rest of my life. Community, I messed up, but I'm going to do what I need to do. Son, I messed up. I've challenged therapists. I've challenged clients. Go home, men. Go home. Apologize to your wife. Apologize to your children. Be vulnerable enough to do that. That's one step in going to be healed.
Right. And it all starts with the individual. Mm-hmm. You can't heal. You can't unbreak your family if you're still broken.
Oh, man.
You can't unbreak your community if you're still broken. So for me, the whole thing about having an impact is first having an impact on yourself. And you have to be very intentional about a couple of things. And I'm a harken back to the individual, because without the individual being where he needs to be, there is no impact in the family. There is no impact in the community. So you really have to be intentional. You have to be proactive about being physically healthy, about being mentally and emotionally healthy. You've got to be intentional about your diet, your exercise.
I'm going to talk about that. Let's just
The things that you need
I
to
like that.
educate yourself about. And I'm not saying you have to be smartest dude in the room. I'm not saying you even have to be smart for that matter.
No.
But you do have to know what you do need to know so that you can climb out of where you're at.
You know, I just came
So
from
that-
my dentist. I want to talk to you about that. That's hold on to that right there. But that's very important. When we talk about our men and our health, my dentist said something. She said, a lot of her white clients, they come in and they're on antidepressants. Her black clients, this is in the dentist office now, her black clients are on high blood pressure medicine and diabetes medicine. And it literally just made me sit back and say, whoa, right? The fact that we are not taking care of ourselves physically. And it, again, impact on health. If we look at it, we're last in everything that it comes to be healthy. So again, when it comes to health, in healthiness, we are highest in diabetes, we're highest in hypertension, we're highest in heart disease, all of these things that happen. Again, so if I'm not healthy, then how can I make the impact? And so again, going back to what you just said, I got to be healthy. I got to be emotionally healthy. What am I doing to be emotionally healthy? What am I doing to be physically healthy? What am I doing to understand that these things are so important? Before I can make an impact, I need to make an impact on me.
Exactly. Good point. And that's exactly what's up. And I think the reason for this vicious cycle that we live in is because of the number of broken brothers that live in our communities. And so what we want to make sure as individuals, as black men, we want to make sure we just unbreak ourselves. It's something you have to be intentional about. That's all I'm saying. And that those intentional things have everything to do with the physical self, the spiritual self, the mental self, the emotional self, the psychological self. Because that's, again, we talked about our first episode. Those are the dimensions of man. That's the multidimensional man needs to be healthy, so that the multidimensional man can operate in his purpose.
Can you say that again?
I'm just saying the multidimensional man needs to be healthy, so that the multidimensional man can operate in his purpose, so that the multidimensional man
Can make an impact.
Can make an impact on his family, on his community, and on his community, and that's
and on the greater society. And so when we look at making that impact, as we look at that impact of, you know what, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to go get a couple of brothers and we're going to get healthy together. And we're going to talk about, yo, man, you know what, we're going to cool it out on the drinking, or we're going to look at, yo, man, you know what, we're going to turn these TVs off and we're going to go get educated. And, you know, we're going to start reading some books and we're going to do those things.
And we'll have conversations around what we read. Well, and everything that we're reading for the most part is to help us get unstuck, get unbroke, get healthier, become more knowledgeable, become more aware of things, so that our awareness drives our attitudes, drives our behavior. Hey, I didn't realize this. I wasn't aware of that. If we start doing this, then this will happen. If we start doing that, then that'll happen. If we stop doing this, then this good thing will happen. And I think it all begins with a couple brothers, like we said it last week, we'll say it again, just a couple brothers getting together, then getting a couple more brothers together. Next thing you know, we have a powerful small group of black men who once they come together, man, they can do some great things.
That's right.
They can do some great things.
It can be done. It really can be dynamic.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, I like to give a shout out to my Men in the Box. We get up on Wednesdays at 4:30 in the morning, and we're talking about these things, right? We're talking about, now those brothers in Atlanta. We got a couple of brothers that are in North Carolina, and you know, I got introduced to this box, and you know, these men, they're men talking about purpose. They're talking about passion. They're talking about making an impact, and we need more of it, right? Why we get up at 4:30 in the morning? You know, we get up at 4:30 in the morning because that gives us a sense of discipline.
Absolutely. And
right?
commitment.
And it gives us a sense of, you know what, we want to do something different, right? Get out the bed, do something that no one else is doing. And that's the type of impact that we're talking about. Make an impact be intentional about making an impact.
Right.
That's what we want to see brothers doing. We want to see you brothers stepping up, going out there, being intentional about making an impact in your community. But first of all, before you make an impact in your community, you got to make an impact in your home.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
Your phone has your home. Your home is your castle. And if your home ain't together, you can't go out here and do anything else.
Right. Right. You know, the old saying, somebody knocks on the door and says, your husband did this, your husband did that. The wife says, what? Really? I didn't know he did. I didn't know he did that. I didn't know he was about that. He doesn't do that for me. He doesn't do that for his children. He doesn't do that for our household. And so, you run into those situations too, where, and then this is not a knock, but you run into those situations too, where people are gung-ho, people are fired up, people are passionate about change, about having a positive impact on the community, but they do so at the
risk and
at the perils of their own family.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna tell you what an OG told me one time, community leader. He said the shoemaker's kids wear the worst shoes.
How about that?
The shoemaker's kids wear the worst shoes. And he said, don't be that guy.
Wow. That's deep. That's really interesting.
Right. And so
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, no.
What's the big thing, looking at it from a global perspective, talking about black men impacting their communities, what you want to do is you want to impact this vicious cycle. You want to attack this vicious cycle that is known as the hood, to speak, the hood. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how many people who listen or will listen live there. I don't know how many people who would care to go back there and impact their and impact those particular communities. But the biggest challenge we have as a society of black people is lifting each other up. And the only way you lift each other up is to have a positive effect or a positive impact on the people who need lifting.
Mm-hmm.
So
and we can go back, and we don't have to live there to go back.
True.
We can go back. I have some great friends that are going back that don't live there. They're going back and they're teaching entrepreneurship to the young kids. They're getting some of the guys off. They're going into the prisons and they're teaching entrepreneurship to recidivism visit. So that you don't always have to live there. But why don't we do something? Why don't we go back and start to fix it so that we make it desirable to maybe want to move back there, or make it desirable enough to say the ones who are there want to stay there.
Right. Or the ones who are there have better living conditions.
Exactly.
The ones who are there have a better public educational
experience and system.
The ones who live there can get can live in safer houses, safer communities. They don't have to worry about getting shot, getting stabbed. The ones who are there have a reason to get up, a reason to have hope, because there's more to tomorrow than ducking and dodging bullets, and there's more to tomorrow than getting their car repossessed. There's more to tomorrow than all the negativity that's in the inner cities, and so that's in our black. That's in some of our black communities.
What I'm hearing is, we need a mindset change.
No question. You can't change without having a mindset change first. And we go back to the whole thing. You got to want to.
Yeah.
Something has to hit your heart. Before you can change your mind, you have to have it's a heart. Mind changing is a heart issue. Mm-hmm. My heart has said something to me. My heart beats in a way that has triggered my thinking, and now because of that, I want to take action. Mm-hmm. So it starts with the heart. That's passion.
That's passion.
And it goes to the mind. That's planning, right? And then it's about taking action.
Mm-hmm.
I
totally get it. I happen, and I'm just going to put a plug in. I know you grew up in suburbs, so I can't. I grew up in the hood, and it wasn't until I discovered that I could elevate the hood. I grew up in a place where, my mom, she was an avid reader, and she had a friend who was an avid reader, and he had all of these books on being successful, and he had all these books on elevating and changing and growing. And I want to put a plug in for that, because brothers, we don't read, and we need to start reading. Because what reading started to do was it started to take me out of the hood, if that makes sense. It started to take me to a place where, hey, you know what? You can be successful, and you can make an impact, and you can do things different, and you can elevate and move to a place where your son can get educated and do those things. And so that's what happened for me. I started reading books like Think and Grow Rich, and I want to put a plug in for that. And, other books of How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie, and all of these books that started to take me to places, Maximize Manhood, and books that took me to become the man I am today and continuing to grow to. And so I want to put a plug in for you. Can be successful, you can make an impact, but you got to want to. You got to read books on it. You got to get with other men. You have to do the things that want to make you make an impact. And you can't do it in silos. You can't do it by yourself.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's been the biggest problem, that too often we operate in silos. And so the one man can't do what 5 men can do, and 5 men can't do what 10 men can do. So it's all about coming together, common goal, common purpose, have a plan, be persistent, be passionate, and just keep fighting until you get what you want. Keep fighting until you have actually impacted change. Mm-hmm. And that's what this whole thing is about.
So, right. Yo, man, it's been real good again. Just once again, just really sitting here, just, at the end of every show, I just want to make a challenge to every man, and I'm going to do that. The challenge is, if there's any place in your life that you feel like you're broken in, and we're all broken, so I'm not going to sit up here and tell you we're not. We all got something going on. I want to challenge every man on this show who's listening to this show. Look, go get quiet. It's not about beating you up. It's about challenging all of us to grow to the next level. We all want to make an impact. We all want to do something different. Who do you want to be? I challenge every man today to go home. Who do you want to be? Who do you want to be for your family? Who do you want to be for your marriage? Who do you want to be for your children? Who do you want to be for your greater community? And if you can do that, man, we can get together. As Brett and I talked about in the beginning of the show, this is for all of us. This is for all of you. Brett and I are doing this, but this is for the greater community, that we want to see all of our men whole, healthy. And if you don't know what healthy looks like, give me a call. Give Brett a call. Give a friend a call. Talk to us. Give us feedback.
And you know what? Here's the thing. If you don't know what that looks like, gather amongst your inner circle. Everybody has an inner circle. Gather amongst your inner circle and just have a simple conversation. Just look at each other and point at each other and say, how can I help you
get better? Amen.
And if everybody's pointing at each other, you've got a group of people not just holding each other accountable, but you have a group of people lifting each other up.
Right. But now let's be careful with that, because birds of a feather flock together too. So if I'm getting high and hanging out and I'm womanizing, and I don't see anything wrong with me hanging out and getting high and womanizing, then hey man, you good just like I'm good.
I guarantee you 5 people sitting together womanizing, somebody's going to say, should we be doing this? Mm. Somebody's going to say, can we be doing something a little bit different? You got 5 people sitting around high all the time. Somebody's in their high state, in their drunk, stupor state. Somebody's gonna say, "Oh man, can we do something else?" You know why? You know why I say that? Because that's how change happens. That's how change occurs. At some point, some light comes on in somebody. It's happened to all of us.
Oh, it sure has.
Every single one of us has that light.
We've had that moment.
Yeah. Every single one of us in our life has had that aha moment when we took a step back and realized we got to change. Something's got to change. I can't keep rolling like this. And so we can all change.
We can all change.
And once that change occurs, we can all then change other people. And what impact basically is changing something from where it was and just making it better.
All right.
You know what I'm
So,
saying?
brothers, we're going to challenge you. Go out here. Let's make an impact on our communities. Man, it's been real, Brett. Looking forward to another episode next week. And how about them Cowboys?
Yeah. How about them Cowboys? We'll leave it at that. How about them Cowboys? Good luck, man. Good luck. What is it, Saturday night?
Saturday night, yeah. No. We got the Monday night game.
You got the Monday night game.
We got the Monday
man,
night game.
you got to suffer through the whole weekend.
I know,
oh
man.
My God, I'm sorry to hear that, bro.
I know. How about them Cowboys?
Well, I'll be praying for you Tuesday morning. I'll be praying for you Tuesday morning. All right, bro.
All right, bro. Be good. Thank you. Yo, go make an impact. Have a great day.